Imagine a newly renovated balcony in Schaumburg. The interior behind you was gutted and modernized last year, and right now, afternoon light is shimmering across the water of a pond just outside. If you look at the back-end data for this unit, that scene disappears. Search engines and portals see a rigid database record: year built, 1985, square footage, and a standard count of bedrooms and bathrooms. Look closely at those digital fields and notice what is missing. No input for a pond view, no checkbox for a gutted kitchen. The structured data actively contradicts the physical reality of the home. By labeling the property with a 1985 timestamp, the system anchors the listing to an outdated era, ignoring the modern renovation entirely. This discrepancy illustrates how many qualitative features, the specific angle of the light, or the quality of the finishes, are ignored by the software. The foundational digital system we use to buy and sell homes is built on a logic that cannot account for the reasons a human being actually chooses a place to live. A modern listing performs two separate simultaneous jobs. Think of them as two distinct gates. To see the house, a buyer has to pass through both, and neither one involves reading the description. The first gate is the database record. This is the layer that search engines and portals read to decide which properties to display. In a typical condo association, this data is uniform. Every unit populates with identical data tags for the year built, floor plan code, and monthly assessment. Viewed through this digital lens, the individual homes disappear. They become indistinguishable rows of uniform data. If a buyer filters their search for a specific feature, like a first-floor primary bedroom, and that field is empty or missing from the system, the property becomes invisible. It doesn't matter how beautiful the home is if it never appears in the results. These structured fields serve as a hard filter. They determine whether a listing exists in the buyer's world at all. Once a listing passes the search filter, it hits the second gate, the sales pitch. This gate targets the human visual cortex rather than an algorithm. The very first photograph accounts for more than 90% of the decision to click a listing. This reaction happens instantly. A buyer commits to that click before they process the price, read the text, or register the address. These two gates perform opposite functions. The data gate forces the home to look like every other property to remain searchable. The photo gate must prove the home is unique to get the click. Features like a view of the pond or the way the sun hits the living room are exactly the things that have no data field to live in. They can only be communicated visually. Because the database lacks the vocabulary for these qualitative facts, the first photograph is the only place where the property's differentiating features can actually exist. If we return to that Schaumburg condo, we can see the exact friction point where the search engine meets the human buyer. On one side is the rigid database code, labeling the home as a generic 1980s unit. On the other is the physical reality, a renovated space defined by light and a view. This conflict changes the role of photography in a real estate listing. In a system that lacks specific fields for view or exposure, the photograph functions as the primary record for those facts. For the buyer, the image serves as the only qualitative dataset available. It is the only evidence of the features that the structured fields are forced to ignore. The structured fields get you found. The first photo gets you clicked. But both are just proxies, digital placeholders for a physical experience that the data hasn't learned how to measure.